Why don't we rent a video tonight?
Yeah, can we please?
On a weeknight?
Yeah, come on, Mom. It's okay.
Sure. Come on. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Welcome to Vericon Video, a sometimes weekly show where we relive forgotten and unforgettable movies that once lined the shelves of video stores everywhere. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Joseph.
And when we're not working in the video store, we work in murders and executions mostly. But have yet to snag dinner reservations at Dorsia to compare our business cards. That's right, today we're joining the posh ranks of 1980s New York City yuppies and their shallow materialist world to talk about 2000 satirical horror comedy American Psycho, starring Christian Bale. It's a laugh riot, a playful but mysterious little film. You'll love it. Before we return some videotapes, settle in with that fine Chardonnay you're not drinking, and sit back, relax, and welcome.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Okay, good evening, America, and welcome aboard Apollo 13.
I'm so glad you could come. This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you're enjoying it. I think you will.
Patrick Bateman, a Wall Street professional who strives to fit in socially and struggles with his own insecurity, starts to give in to his bubbling bloodlust, becoming a serial killer by night, and slowly unravels as he tries to quench his thirst for murder. This film stars Christian Bale, Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux, Josh Lucas, Reese Witherspoon, and Jared Leto. It's based on the novel by Bret Easton Ellis, who is known for other books such as Less Than Zero and Rules of Attraction. Both were made into films that were actually pretty good. It's directed and co-written by Mary Herron, a Canadian, mostly television director. Academics, and as an academic, I have to mention this, academics love to poke this movie because of its satirical social commentary. A lot of pop culture critics and analysts, those who have made their career analyzing movies, this is one that they often return to.
I can see
because
that.
It's a rich text all its own, even divorced from the book, because of its unreliable narrator and ability to leave audiences questioning what they're seeing. And there's all that about the dinner culture,
right,
and the posh, high
class, eloquent.
Yeah, very high class, but very shallow and meaningless. In this search for meaning in a sea of commercialism.
The business of business. Like, if you want to go Wall Street, that is the epitome of business.
Where there's really no work element.
Right,
it's all about play.
Exactly.
Under the guise of work. We're going to have these dinners and have drinks, and we're going to go to the club, and we're going to have meetings, but really we're just going to muse and talk about Sri Lanka.
Yeah, there's a lot of fakeness that's involved with this lifestyle.
We're going to pretend to be current and topical and try to sound intelligent and to try to win over the trust and interest of other people that we really don't care about to begin
Not at
with.
all.
Then that's obvious in this movie. There was a sequel called, strangely enough, American Psycho 2 that had nothing to do with Patrick Bateman. It starred Mila Kunis. I never saw it. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than I remember it was right beside this one at the video store. And it actually took me a long time to watch American Psycho. Like I said, I remember seeing it on the store shelves, but I didn't know who this Christian Bale guy was.
Right.
And
brand new.
Yeah, and I just didn't really... The title didn't intrigue me. You see a guy in a business suit with a knife, and there's a reflection of a girl. That's, right. And so,
it's
yeah,
like
he kills
the psychopath.
women.
Yeah, kills women.
Yeah.
Serial killer. All right, whatever.
Yeah. So I didn't really think it would have much substance to it. But I was wrong. I'm glad I revisited. I saw it for the first time in college, maybe 2003, 2004. It's one I go back and rewatch every couple of years just because it's so, like, the dialogue is so great.
It's beautiful.
It's very quotable.
The script is beautiful, yes.
It's like, and I like to do impressions. And my Patrick Bateman isn't very good, but I do really enjoy, like, some of those lines, and people get a kick out of them because he has such great monologues.
Yes.
When he talks about music. It had a run for a while as a musical on Broadway. If you can believe that. American Psycho, the musical. Yeah.
What?
It's weird.
How is that popular? How would that be popular?
I don't know. I don't remember reading any reviews about it. There are some really strange musical adaptations of popular movies. Just this year, Beetlejuice was made into a musical.
Wow.
But it's gotten pretty crappy reviews so far because Beetlejuice is very kind of polished and reimagined for modern audiences.
Which is not Beetlejuice.
No, he's grimy and nasty, and he's a pervert and not suitable for children.
I was about to say just for you kids.
Although there was a toy line and an animated series.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but other than the musical, Bret Easton Ellis was actually asked to draft a screenplay based on his novel in the early stages of the development of this film, and it ended with a musical number on the top of the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And he had said, I think I read this on IMDb, that this shows where his mind was at the time, that he was just so bored with the material. and he actually has not really a distaste for this movie, but he doesn't really love it. He says that it's a film that just shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. He's an odd guy. Back in 2003, Lionsgate and FX started to develop a TV show based on this movie that would feature Patrick Bateman grooming an apprentice to essentially be like him.
Like Batman and Robin kind of thing.
Yeah. And coincidentally enough, Christian Bale played Batman.
Wow.
So, it's destined to be.
Wow.
But no news on that in about 5 years. It's probably kaput. And thank goodness, I don't think that would really
have done anything anyways.
Yeah. At one time, Stuart Gordon was attached to direct, who was best known for Reanimator. Then David Cronenberg was attached, who of course is best known for The Fly and Videodrome, things like that. And then at one time, Leonardo DiCaprio was signed on to play Bateman, and Lionsgate wanted to beef up the budget from like 10 to like 30 or $40 million, just so they could purchase some big name talent, some A-listers. Because they thought that Christian Bale wasn't famous enough. Like, who's going to come see this movie with this relatively unknown actor who has been working since he was a kid? He had worked for Spielberg and smaller roles, Empire of the Sun, I think. But ultimately, Mary Herron directed it, co-wrote it, and made this movie for about $7 million. And the biggest chunk of the budget was spent on acquiring the music rights for the film.
That makes sense.
Because it does play such a role in setting the tone.
Yes.
Not just in the scenes that Bateman is philosophizing about this particular song and his affinity for it and its meaning in the grand scheme of things. Hip to be Square, Lady in Red.
Right.
It's Simply Irresistible. So you've got all these really great songs of the late 80s. This takes place in 1987. And they're really like upbeat, kind of positive songs, which really contrast against the tone of the film.
Very well done.
Like, there's really no memorable score to this movie. Like, it's mostly the pop tracks.
It was very much the pop tracks. It was when he mentioned Huey or Phil Collins, it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, yes, he's amplifying this in his own apartment. This is amazing. Instead of some type of iconic theme that we've seen from our past episodes that we've done. It's more along the lines of what is outstanding and new in that decade.
Right. So it really, in this case, like, the score was just meant to kind of punctuate some of those moments of intense violence or pathos or whatever.
Or even emphasizing his like sporadic personality. The very sharp rock and roll and pop was really electrifying.
Which ebbs and flows so quickly and turns on a dime. Like, he can be very contemplative in one moment and then be a happy camper towards the end. Or he's really coming unglued and he's just hysterical.
Right.
Crazy. So, let's see. Well, because of the lack of iconic music in this movie other than the pop tracks, I don't really have any music for you this time around. So let's just, we're not going to have a smooth transition here. We're just going to go right into the walkthrough and see what we find along the way. The opening credits of the movie, we got close-up of decadent food, very posh, this little montage. We see some red stuff, red liquid dropping onto this white surface, which actually is a little device that we saw last week in Sleepy Hollow at the very beginning. We see drops of red liquid onto this paper that we think is blood, but it's actually wax, for a wax seal. And in this case, it's like a raspberry sauce or something going onto a plate. And so we've kind of got that little nod there to the violence to come. We open on these four gentlemen seated at dinner or drinks. We have Bryce, McDermott, Van Patten, and Bateman. These guys are sitting around, they're having a conversation, and there's already a case of mistaken identity here, which happens many, many times throughout the movie. someone says, "Is that Paul Allen?" And Bateman is quick to correct him, saying, "Oh no, Paul Allen is sitting over there at that table." And so he corrects him, and there is a conversation going on that Bateman believes to be anti-Semitic, and so he is quick to correct them, but they're having laughs, say, "Oh, we forgot that Bateman is dating somebody from the ACLU." And we had this great moment where they get the check, and it's, "Oh, the meal was only $570.
Okay.
And they all toss in the very same identical American Express
I
card.
laughed so hard. It's a very much a Seinfeld episode. It's, talking about the most nonsense things, and then out of, middle of nowhere, just all handing in the same card. Like, really? Okay.
And they're just so indifferent about it. Like, it's cheaper than normal.
Man,
for 4 people.
Only $570 for 4 people. I could get a $5 Subway sandwich that tastes just as good as where they went,
Yeah, because it didn't appear as though they had a big meal. It looked like they were just having lunch and an afternoon drink or something.
And a plate that sizes something so small.
It's like a tea saucer,
right.
A teacup saucer. When I was in Europe, like the portion sizes were so small that I thought I was going to starve to death. Because like when you order a burger or something like that, you get just a burger, like a small burger, and a very small drink that's maybe, like if you want a Coke, it's maybe 8 ounces with a slice of orange in it. You don't get a big gulp size drink and this massive burger with 3 patties and a handful of French fries or chips or something.
Apparently we live in luxury over here.
We live something over here. We have a very Americanized lifestyle. So these guys are waiting outside of a club, and they decide to squeeze $50 to the door person, and they get inside, and we got some great 80s pop going on. There's some dancers on stage doing this weird Charlie's Angels kind of thing. These 3 girls, they have guns and they're posing and swaying with the music. It really, that to me is one of the things in this movie that...
What was the value of that?
I don't think anything. I mean, it fits with the time that was a show that would have been popular then, but they're not really dancing in any kind of way. They're just kind of moving and posing just for decor. Maybe?
I started contemplating my existence when I was watching that. I was like, what is this? What is life? What is the entity of my existence?
I wonder, like, there are a lot of movies that really exaggerate or overemphasize or misrepresent what the 80s were like. As we saw a few weeks ago in Remote Control.
Yes.
This very hyper-futuristic 80s representation.
Good old Jeff.
Yeah, good old Jeff Lieberman. That guy.
Back at it again.
But here, like, I don't know if this is something that we would actually see in the 1980s in a club. We're just going to...
We're flowing. We're flowing with it.
We're just going to go with it.
We're riding the tidal wave, guys.
So Bateman goes up to the bar and orders 2 Stoli on the rocks, hands the bartender a couple of drink tickets, and she says, "These are no good anymore. It'll be $25. And so he bites his lip, hands over $25. $25 in 1987?
Wow.
Let's look that up right now.
Value of $25 in 1987.
So this would be almost $56.
Wow.
For 2 drinks.
For 2... What? Would you buy that?
Hell no. I don't.
Well, then again, you don't go to luxury $570 restaurants, right?
Right. I don't have the luxury of working in a company that my father owns, and I just get to sit behind a desk and plan lunches and dinners.
And get angry when you look at business cards.
Yes. When somebody has a slightly different, but not really better business card. It's very subtle. We'll definitely be getting to that.
All right.
Woo. And so when the bartender turns around, Bateman says, "You're a fucking ugly bitch. I want to stab you to death, then play around with your blood." And then she doesn't even really hear him. She just gives him his change back. And I love this moment because he looks at the mirror behind the bar at himself and just kind of grins a little bit and winks.
Like, hey, good looking. What you got cooking?
Yeah. It's almost like he just happened to notice this handsome guy and was like, "Yeah, you got it going on, buddy." It's like he needs to give himself that reassurance that he's not a poser and that he is handsome and good looking and wealthy and
like, I'm that man that does crunches while watching porn.
I can do 1,000 now.
All right,
1,000 crunches.
1,000. You gotta be kidding me.
I don't know.
How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I had read somewhere that at one time in preparation for this movie, Bale spent many months working out alone, but also several times a week with a personal trainer in order to get in this shape, and could do 1,000 crunches.
Wow.
So the man's dedicated to his art.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, with Dick Cheney, too, with
Yes.
that movie,
Oh my
he's
gosh.
very dedicated.
If you look at how this man transforms his body,
It's amazing.
a few years after this, he did The Machinist and was, I think, 100 pounds or something like that.
It was basically like he was a skeleton.
Yeah, he looked like a skeleton. He looked like somebody you would see in footage from the Holocaust.
Right.
Like he was
that
emaciated. I read that he had survived on an apple and a can of tuna a day for an extended period of time to get that small. But then, in 2005 or whatever, Batman Begins, and he's buff again.
He's buff again, right?
Yeah. And then now, in 2018, he's going to be playing Dick Cheney, and he's got a gut. He's a heavy-set guy.
He's huge.
Yeah, he's not wearing a fat suit or anything.
No.
He does have some minor makeup and prosthesis going on, but otherwise it's all him.
Yeah.
It's all him.
It's amazing.
I can't think of any other actor that has gone through such a drastic revision of their appearance for
the
a role.
sacrifice it takes to do that. It's crazy.
I mean, I've heard stories of Charlize Theron gained a lot of weight for Monster, and Robert De Niro had went to a dentist to have his teeth made to look like they were in bad shape for Cape Fear.
Wow.
And then have them corrected again. Jim Carrey for Dumb and Dumber, he has that little chip in his tooth. Like he actually had a chip in his tooth from years earlier, and he just had that repaired, but then he had that reparation removed for the role, so they had the chipped tooth.
Wow.
And so I mean, those little things that actors do to their bodies is pretty neat.
Just to go that far into being successful in their film, it's amazing.
So Bateman is 27 years old, and Christian Bale was actually 25 when he made this.
Wow.
So so how old are you?
I'm 21.
21.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's see, I'm 33, but I couldn't imagine taking on a role such as this at that age. Like it seems like he is mature in his abilities
very
as
mature
an
in his
actor.
abilities, yes.
So I mean, I think that in itself was another reason that gained him so much attention.
He acts like a 32, 33-year-old,
Yeah. I mean, even though he's supposed to be 27, he acts much older than that, as you said. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
brilliant job by him. So I think this movie was well deserving of him becoming or entering the spotlight for Hollywood.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was a big risk for the studio, and it was a big risk for him for his career, but it really paid off.
Turned out well.
So Bateman, he's narrating now. He tells us he lives in the American Gardens building on West 81st Street on the 11th floor. He's going through his morning routine. Like we said, he can do 1,000 crunches now. And he's taking a shower, and he's telling us all of the different beauty products that he uses.
Yes.
This water-activated gel cleanser and this almond body scrub. If his face is a little puffy in the mornings, he wears an ice mask while he does his crunches.
Yeah.
So he's got a cure for everything. Something about his accent here. So for many years, I didn't know that Christian Bale was actually English, but I had heard either on the commentary or reading it elsewhere that for the duration of this movie, he kept the American accent, even off camera, like with the cast and crew. And so they didn't even know until the rap party that he was English. So I thought that was
wow.
Yeah. So he kept that. I mean, I guess that's part of that method acting that he's known for.
It shows his professionalism.
Yeah, and consistency. And in his narration, he tells us that you can shake my hand and feel flesh underneath, but there's no real self. There's no real Patrick Bateman. Just an abstraction. So he's just a facade. He's a broken person.
He's fake.
He's absolutely fake. There's nothing real about him, and I think that's part of his pain and frustration is that there is no sense of self. That it's just building and rebuilding this image for other people to fit in, basically, to find his place. He says, "I simply am not there." as he's peeling off this face mask in the mirror,
so symbolic.
Yeah,
so symbolic.
So we get we're walking on sunshine. He's got his he's got his headphones on, and he's walking into his office. We meet his secretary Jean, and she says, you have dinner reservations with such and so, and he's going, just cancel it. Just say no. And,
I'm right here.
and on her way out, she makes this comment like, "You look nice today, Patrick." And he's like, he just says, "Don't wear that outfit again." Wear a skirt or something. And heels. I like high heels. The book itself has been heavily criticized for being just overtly misogynist and distasteful of women because of how women are brutally murdered in the book. Much more graphic than the film.
Oh yes,
so graphic.
I do know that.
I started reading the book many years ago, and I had to stop. Like, I got a strong stomach. I used to bag body parts as a job for 4 years. I'll tell that story at another time. But yeah, I couldn't go on with the book. But the movie is praised for kind of channeling that perceived misogyny into satirical commentary.
Right.
And so, like, this is 1987. Women in the workplace, at least in a secretarial position, might be subjected to this type of sexist behavior. Sexualizing them in a way that I want you to dress in a way that I find you attractive.
Like a male boss to a female secretary.
Yes.
And it was quite comical how the secretary took this as being, ooh, he's interested in me. I'm looking turned on here.
And I really want to know what she finds interesting about him. Because there is nothing about him.
Nothing.
It's just the superficial performance that he's giving.
Yep.
And he's totally, not only just uninterested, but I don't think he's even aware that she is interested in him in that way.
Right.
Because when she makes that comment, it doesn't even register. He just says, "Don't wear that outfit again."
Right.
And we never see Bateman working. He just, when she leaves, he just puts his feet up on the desk and turns the TV on. Yeah. And even later on in the film, he's doing crossword puzzles. He's reading porn.
How much do you get paid, bro?
Reading porn, sorry. Yeah.
I want that job.
Reading porn. I'm sorry. Does anyone actually read porn?
What are you thinking about, Brandon?
I read it for the articles. Well, actually, back in the day, like in Playboy, like they were known for their articles. Like Stephen King published short stories. They published short stories and editorials. But anyway, I digress. We meet Bateman's fiancée, Evelyn, played by Reese Witherspoon. And I love Reese Witherspoon.
She's beautiful.
She is a fantastic actress.
Yes.
A very capable actress. Although, I'm not sure if I can forgive her yet for A Wrinkle in Time. Did you see that movie?
I did. I kind of lost my shit.
I'm not sure. Like, it's so forgettable. I couldn't tell you 4 things about it. The only thing I really remember is 50-foot Oprah.
Yes. She was
unnecessarily.
Large.
And then all of a sudden she's normal size again.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't either. I just want to erase that movie from my memory.
Ladies and gentlemen, just remember when Brandon says forgetful, it means it's horrifically bad and should be erased from Hollywood's history of cinematic movies.
Totally agree, because I remember loving that book as a kid. I read it in, I think, 5th grade, and I was really excited when it was coming back to the big screen.
I did the same thing. Early age, read it.
Yeah.
Beautiful book.
Right. And it has a very evocative imagery. In A Wrinkle in Time, we had these really over-the-top performances that just didn't gel. It didn't make sense. We had this...
There was no chemistry.
None whatsoever. I left that movie being so confused, more so confused than... By the way, I went back to the Alamo Drafthouse on Sunday and watched the remake of Suspiria, and my goodness, that was a 2.5-hour mess. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people really like it, but I spent the rest of my afternoon watching reviews and commentary and reading what other people have written, trying to figure out what happened in this movie, what happened in the end. Okay, I'm gonna digress. I'm gonna put that down for now. But I just wanted to bring it up that was something that I thought was also very confusing and perplexing, and I was a little pissed off that it was 2.5 hours.
The fact that you just thought more about the money that you spent rather than what you just saw in the movie.
Right, because in my mind, I thought, I'm gonna see a matinee, and this is a 2.5-hour movie. I'm gonna get my money's worth. And this is based on a renowned film from Dario Argento. And, okay, it's an hour longer than the original, and it has a good cast. But I thought, my goodness, this is absolutely a train wreck in that I can't, I need to be taking notes during this. That's what I should have done with the little pieces of paper that you write your order on during the movie. I should have just been diagramming.
Yeah. It's like running a Hot Wheels car through a pizza and watching everything just splatter all around. And watching that for 2.5 hours.
I would have much rather paid $12 to see that. Oh, but anyway, so how do we get on the... Oh, Reese Witherspoon.
Right.
If you want to see a really great Reese Witherspoon movie, go back to see... I think it was her first movie. It was called Man in the Moon.
That was very good.
It's sad. Very, very sad.
Very sad.
Very sad. Sad movie made by people I know, the really good people. I know them personally. See the movie. It's good, but it's sad.
It's very sad. Hey, now, Walk the Line was also really good.
Yes, okay.
She did a beautiful job.
She was great as June Carter Cash.
Yes.
She and Joaquin Phoenix, also very good. Mm-hmm. Really good pair. Great chemistry. This isn't really the time for it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I might just cut it out.
Might as well.
But I remember when I was a kid, I saw Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash at the airport.
Way.
I was with my dad, and this was pre 9/11, so we were waiting at the gate for somebody to arrive. And my dad leaned over and he said, "You know those people are in front, seated across from us?" And I said, "No," because there was this old guy dressed in black and this woman, and he said, "That's Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash." And I was like, "I don't know who the hell that is." I was maybe 10, 12, and they were eating tacos, and when they left to get on their flight, they just left all their trash there in their seat.
Oh my gosh.
But since my dad said they were famous, I took all their garbage home with me. And I kept it for a long time. I was like, I have Johnny Cash's trash. But then my grandmother threw it away, and I was like, "Do you have any idea what you've done?" But I did get his autograph, so I have that somewhere.
That is, wow. Man.
But anyway, American Psycho.
Let's start playing the Ring of Fire while we're at it.
So Bateman, he's sitting there. They're in the cab with Evelyn, and she's trying to plan this wedding, or she's trying to tell Patrick we should get married, have a wedding. But he's listening to his headphones, listening to Simply Irresistible. And he looks so annoyed, he pulls one side off and says, What are you talking about? And she's like, "We should get married, Patrick, have a wedding." So, "No, I can't take the time off work." Just puts the
Walkmans back in. Oh, all right.
It's like, I want to fit in. Simply irresistible. And so they have dinner at Espace.
Not Espace. Espace.
Yeah, not Espace. Espace. These restaurants, the names of these restaurants in this movie are so outlandish, like Crayons and Barcadia, Texarkana.
Just for you kids, let's bring home some eloquent meals from Crayons.
I wish I had a list of all the restaurant names because they're so great, and they're each so bizarre and outlandish. They arrive at dinner, and Bryce is there, and Evelyn's cousin Vanden and her boyfriend Stash says that they're both artists. And then there's some other people there. And Bryce stands up and hands the menu to Bateman. And he says, "The menu's in Braille."
Okay.
And then just starts to hug and kiss on Reese Witherspoon, Evelyn. And Bateman is narrating now, and he says that he's certain that Bryce and Evelyn are having an affair, but he's indifferent because he's having an affair with her best friend Courtney, who is engaged to this guy, Louis Carruthers.
He's pretty gay.
He's pretty gay.
Yeah.
Pretty gay. And we're not saying, "Oh, well, he's gay."
Just
later on, he's
we can see that he's gay.
He has homosexual tendencies, as we will later find out.
Right.
And I can't remember this actor's name, but I remember he was in the movie Face Off. He was a police officer. He gets his ear shut off. Gets his he gets his ear shot off.
just FYI, shot off.
Yeah, he didn't shut his ear off.
He got it shot off.
He just turned this one off. Whew, okay.
Oh,
and so Courtney says to Stash, "Do you think Soho is becoming too commercial?" Bryce is just smoking his cigarette. Who gives a rat's ass? And Vanden's like, "Well, that affects us." It's like, "What do you know about the massacres in Sri Lanka, honey? Doesn't that affect us too? I mean, what do you know about Sri Lanka?" like he knows anything about Sri Lanka. And then Bateman, I'm not going to go on with this whole tirade he goes on, but he says, well, there are more important things to worry about than Sri Lanka. And he's like, well, we have to end apartheid for one, and we've got to end world hunger and
the homeless and
and world peace and equal rights for women.
I'm just like, do you want to become president?
Yeah, because he's listening every major cause of concern in 87, and no one really responds to it. I think Lewis says, "How thoughtful."
Yeah.
No one is into it at all, and it's interesting because like later on we hear people talk about Patrick Bateman as a dork, like he's spineless and is people he just love making fun of him because most people don't even recognize him when they see him. People that know him,
right?
And so it's interesting here to say or to see that the way people respond to his attempt to engage in conversation, like it's stuff that he's read about, like in the news or books he's read, and is trying to seem well-read and topical, I guess.
Well, I think you can compare this to Catch Me If You Can.
Okay, how so?
So, you know how Leonardo DiCaprio was very much informed with that time in society and how he used his variety of jobs to ease his way into making money and stuff like that. Well, same way with Christian Bale here. In his role, he literally used his seductive personality to try to understand that time, to understand like the eloquence as well as the politics and the economy of that time in order to persuade women to be like, ooh, wow, he knows everything. Oh my gosh.
Right, he wants to be impressive.
He wants to be impressive.
Because everyone else is, in his mind, not impressive.
Right.
Like that, he says that in the voiceover and tells us that Evelyn's having an affair with Bryce. He says that Bryce is the most interesting person he knows. But he is just, as you said, like capitalizing on this knowledge of politics and current issues as capital to gain entry into these superficial conversations where people are just bantering and volleying this information back and forth and like talking about Sri Lanka as though they really care. But it's just, this is how we're going to engage with one another, even though it's meaningless. Right. But this is the performance that we have to go through in order to maintain this sense of camaraderie and stasis or whatever. Here I am using these big academic words now. I've been writing my dissertation, so my vocabulary has been very strange lately. I apologize. So Bateman goes to an ATM, withdraws lots of cash, and it's at night. He's on the sidewalk, and he's about to cross the street, and there's a woman waiting to cross as well. He says hello to her. They get the signal to walk, and they start walking together. But before they start walking, she looks at him and kind of, at first she was a little nervous and suspicious of him, but then she looks again and kind of smiles like, oh, he seems nice. Like she feels safe. Right. And so that's part of his facade as well, is that he is very innocuous and benign or non-threatening.
Right. A woman charmer.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. And so as they cross the street, we just cut to the next day, and he's at the dry cleaners, and he is screaming at these people who work at the dry cleaners, who are they're speaking in Chinese and broken English, and he's just like, "You can't bleach a cheruti," and he's just like, "I can't understand you. You're a fool, stupid bitchy." and strangely enough. Well, he says, I can only get those sheets in Santa Fe. Like, who cares? All right, buddy. But the whole time he's got a cigar in his hand. Right. Why? I don't know. I don't think it's lit, but he's just waving the cigar around with the cigar. Yeah. And this woman walks in. I can't remember if it's an ex. It's an ex. It's an ex. Victoria. And he's like, can you help me out here? I'm not getting anywhere with these people. She looks down at the sheets. She's like, oh, well, what's that? And these are white sheets with obvious blood stains on them. Yes. And he's, it's cranberry juice, cran apple.
Yeah, I had a big breakfast this morning. It was a lot of cranberry juice in my glass.
She's like trying to schedule a time to catch up with him, and he's calling her. I have a lunch meeting in 20 minutes, so he's trying to get away. She's like, well, how about sometime during the week? He says, I really can't, Victoria. I work all week. What about Saturday? And he looks at his watch for some reason.
What time do you watch?
He's like, next Saturday? I can't. I've got a matinee of Les Mis. I'll call you. And he leaves. And then this is one of my favorite moments. Is that he's kind of got charm smile as he's heading out the door. And he says, Christ, I'll call you. And he points at her. It's that car salesman kind of thing he's got going on. In interviews, Christian Bale said that he drew a lot of inspiration from Tom Cruise.
Wow.
After seeing him on the late show with David Letterman, there was just like something seemingly very friendly, but nothing underneath.
Right.
And so that I think this is an example of him using that, where he kind of has that little bit of a charming smile before he leaves, and then it quickly fades as he's turning to go away. Like it's all fake. So he calls up Courtney. She's drugged up. Meanwhile, he's watching porn on VHS.
That's a surprise.
And he's, how about dinner at Dorsia? This Dorsia, this mythical Dorsia, over the course of this movie, this is the place where everybody is trying to go, but just can't seem. Where art thou, Dorsia? Can we we're going to have a shirt that says that. Yeah. Where art thou, Dorsia? But this is the place that even Bateman can get a reservation at this time. He calls and tries to get a reservation for later that night.
Was there this guy just like menacing laugh, right? Wasn't there this menacing?
Yeah.
What was that all about?
I don't know. Because he's like, Bateman says, I know it's a little late, but, can I get a reservation for 2 at 9 or 9:30, whatever? And the guy on the phone just starts laughing, that maniacal laughter. Like, how preposterous of you to think you can get a reservation by calling in today for a reservation tonight.
Just over and over again.
Yeah, it's absurdly maniacal. And so he's unable to get the reservation. I found this kind of interesting, that Courtney is played by Samantha Davis, that I remember as Daisy from the Super Mario Brothers movie. She's the Princess Daisy.
Wow.
But I can't remember when Super Mario Brothers came out. It was like 93, 95, something like that. About right. So this is 2000, but she is flying high. She is on.
She's on.
She's loaded.
She's in the stratosphere by now.
Yeah, because they're at the restaurant, and she thinks they're at Dorsia. It's like, is this Dorsia? Yes, dear.
And you see on the menu,
Barcadia.
You thought.
This is my favorite line of the entire movie. Right here is when he picks up the menu and he tells her exactly what she's going to have for dinner. Like, Courtney, you're going to have the peanut butter soup with smoked duck and mashed squash. New York Matinee called it a playful but mysterious little dish. You'll love it. And then the red snapper with the violets and pine nuts. I think that will follow nicely. She's like, oh, thank you, Patrick. And she's just sliding out of her seat. And it makes me wonder why he brought her there in the first place.
Yeah.
Because
it's all him.
Yeah, because he's totally uninterested in her.
Right.
Because she's falling down and he's just sitting there looking off. Maybe it's this next scene, because this is Lewis's fiancée. So Bateman is talking with Lewis at this, like an executive's table or conference table. It's like, oh, I heard that you took Courtney to Dorsia. How did you manage that? Lucky, I guess. And so I think maybe that was a way for him to kind of get some more points among his buddies.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, Bateman he was able to get a reservation at Dorsia.
Oh, what a guy.
Yeah, because at this point, the only person we will soon learn who has been able to get a reservation at Dorsia is Paul Allen.
Right. Mr. Paul Allen.
Played by Jared Leto.
The one and only.
Which we're about to meet. But meanwhile, Lewis takes a moment here to say to Patrick, that is a wonderful suit. Let me guess. Valentino Couture. Uh-huh. Bateman's not even looking at him. And Lewis goes to touch the suit, and Bateman recoils. Your compliment was sufficient, Lewis.
What a guy.
I mean, I'm not this kind of guy, but I would love to be able to use that line. Your compliment was sufficient.
That's enough.
So now we meet Paul Allen, and he mistakes Bateman for this guy named Marcus Halberstram, who works in the same business, at the same office, but he dresses similarly, wears the same glasses, has the same barber as Bateman. But Bateman tells us that he has a
better haircut.
He's got a slightly better haircut. And they look nothing alike.
No, absolutely nothing alike.
If anything, he looks more like Paul Allen.
Yes.
Because they have the same hairstyle and the same glasses. But it's interesting that everybody looks the same.
They all have slick back hair.
Yeah.
They all have a suit. They all have their business cards. Above anything else, they're all fake.
Yeah, they don't even recognize each other because everybody looks so similar.
Right.
Yeah, Allen is, he's on the Fisher account, the famed Fisher account that Bateman is coveting for some reason. And Bryce comes in, and I didn't notice this the first time I watched this, but in preparation for the podcast, Paul Allen refers to Bryce as Baxter. So he misidentifies him as well. And but Bryce doesn't even flinch. He doesn't even, it rolls right off of him. And he's like, oh, you want to play squash later? And Paul Allen hands him his card. It's like, call me. Oh, how about, I don't know, Wednesday night or Saturday night, whatever. So no can do. Got a res at Dorsia. Great sea urchin ceviche. You know?
Ceviche.
What a pompous asshole.
I know, right?
So Bateman, this is his moment to say, hey, look at my card. And so he pulls out his business card and he's showing it off. He's like, hey, what do you think? I just picked them up from the printers today. And like, oh, I love that color. That's bone. and that type is something called Cillian Rail. And then Patton's next. He's like, oh, that's nice, Bateman, but check this out. Eggshell with Romalian type. What do you think? And Bateman looks a little bit defeated. He's like, oh, very nice.
Very nice. That's great.
Bryce pulls out his raised lettering, pale nimbus, white.
Ooh.
And Bateman's starting to bite on his thumb a little bit. He's like, very nice. Yeah, he's starting to sweat a little bit. He's like, let's see Paul Allen's card. And I love that everybody looks at each other like, do we really want to bring it out?
Oh.
And so, the sound of the business cards coming out.
I know.
Like the sound of a sword coming out of a sheath.
It's amazing. It's so well defined.
Bateman is sweating, looking at his tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God.
There's a watermark.
It even has a watermark.
Oh my God. And he's sweating his balls off.
Yeah, and Lewis is like, Patrick, are you okay? Patrick? He looks so concerned. Bateman just lets the card fall from his shaking hand.
In just disbelief.
And so I guess later that night, he's maybe leaving the office on his way home or something. And so while Bateman is walking through the alley, he comes across this bum leaning against the wall with his dog. And this is Reg E. Cathy. This guy is such a great character actor. I remember him from the early days of, well, it was our local Channel 8, which showed like Sesame Street and stuff like that. But there was this show called Square One. It was kind of like a skit show for kids. He was on that. And then later I saw him in The Mask. He had a small part as the Doctor. And more recently, he was in House of Cards as Freddy, who owns the barbecue joint. He was great. He's great in that show. But so he has this little exchange with Bateman. Bateman stops and says, hey, you want some money? Do you want some food? He's like, I'm hungry and cold. Bateman kneels down. He's like, why don't you get a job? He said, I lost my job. Did you lose it because you were drinking? Was it from insider trading? Just joking. So he's already having a little fun with kind of their class difference.
Right.
He's like, I'm kind of up here in this privileged position.
You're all the way down there.
You are all the way at the dirty bottom. So Bateman's ramping up. He's like, what's your name? Come on, speak up. Al. Get a goddamn job, Al. You got a negative attitude. That's what's stopping you. You got to get your act together.
Al.
He says, I'll help you. And the bum is like, oh, thank you. You know, you're kind. You're a very kind man.
He's very gracious.
Yeah, he's very excited. Like that this man has offered to give him a chance. It's going to help him. But then he touches Bateman. And then immediately his mood starts to shift a little bit. And he's like, do you know how bad you smell? You reek of shit. And he's just, I don't know. I just don't have anything in common with you.
Then he just opens up this case. Oh my gosh. I cringed. I cringed.
He stabs this poor guy in the gut to death. And then this poor dog.
I was really wanting the dog to live.
But he stomps it to death.
3 times he stomps the dog.
And you hear that pitiful sound?
Yeah, I can't. It's so hard.
Oh, I love doggies.
The one time I ever cry is when I hear that little whimper of a dog.
I guess he then decides to have a spa day.
Yeah.
So he's getting a massage, and the masseuse is complimenting him on his skin, I think, and we're getting more voiceover here. He's talking about having no emotion and feeling that something horrible is happening inside of him, and that his mask of sanity is slipping while he's in the tanning bed. And this next scene, I love this scene. He goes to this Christmas party, and he runs into this guy and says very flatly, with no No expression on his face. He'd say, "Hey, Hamilton, have a holly jolly Christmas." Is Alan still handling the Fisher account? Have a holly jolly Christmas. And he just gets on with it. He's like, it's almost like, okay, this is the pleasantry I have to exchange, but this is what I want to know. I need to get it out of the way.
This is what I need to say. This is what I have to say. I'm almost through it. I'm almost done. This is it.
Then Evelyn comes up and says, "Oh, you got some mistletoe." And meanwhile, while they're talking, somebody puts these reindeer antlers on him. He looks so funny. He doesn't even notice it. It's so discreet. And she's carrying around this pig, this Vietnamese potbelly pig or something. It's an ugly thing.
A damn pig.
Named Snowball. And it's got this little Santa hat on it. And she's like, "Oh, they make really good pets." And Bateman's just like, "What is it?" Bateman runs into Paul Allen, and Allen still thinks he's Marcus Halberstram. That Bateman uses this to hit his advantage and says, "We should have dinner sometime." He's like, "Oh yeah, let's set it up." And so at some point they meet at this restaurant called Texarkana. Bateman gets Allen very, very drunk and gives him many, many martinis.
Yes.
There's a moment where he looks over and he's like, "Is that Ivanka Trump?" And Alan says, "Well, why would Ivanka Trump be at Texarkana?" It's interesting to note, too, like when I think Bateman and Evelyn are in the cab, or they're in a car somewhere, and he looks out the window and says, "Is that Donald Trump's car?"
Yeah, yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting that they're kind
funny.
of, especially given, where we are 18 years later, that back
It's
then,
just funny.
so prescient. Yeah.
Right.
Bateman tells him, "I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?"
Wow. The plot in the movie is summarized in 2 sentences.
I mean, this is a great example of how he is so open about what he does and where his mind is.
No one is...
I mean, they don't notice it.
Pays attention.
Yeah.
Just understands.
Yeah, it's almost like everybody has selective hearing.
Right.
And that they only want to engage in conversation about these trivial, superficial things. Comments like this are either written off as sarcasm or as a playful joke, or it doesn't even register.
Right.
And Alan makes a comment about Evelyn. He's like, "Oh, great ass. She's going out with that loser, Patrick Bateman. What a dork."
Yeah.
And I love how Bateman's just taking it, reveling in the fact that Alan still thinks that he's Marcus Halberstram.
Right.
Another martini, Paul. This clip is everywhere, and I'm so glad. The memes are everywhere, too.
It's so iconic.
We see this shot in Patrick Bateman's apartment of Paul Allen. He's sitting on this chair in the middle of the room. This is when Bateman puts on Huey Lewis in the News, and he's talking about playing hip to be a square, right?
Yes.
Which is all about conformity and all the things that he's kind of immersed in right now. And he's going on his philosophical tirade while he's going through the merits of Huey Lewis in the News, and it has a sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives his songs a big boost. He's looking in the mirror and he has this kind of radio DJ thing going on.
He's all about himself.
Yeah, he takes a pill of some kind, and he has this axe, which is the nicest axe I've ever seen. It's
so
polished.
So beautiful.
It's like chrome. And
it's like a decoration.
Yeah. It's almost like one of those that you would like have up on your wall, but you never actually used it to cut anything.
Right.
It's very sterile and surgical looking. Meanwhile, he's putting on this raincoat, and he comes out and he sees Paul Allen, and Paul Allen says, "Why do you got copies of the style section all over the place? You have a dog, a little chow or something?" "No, Allen. Is that a raincoat?" "Yes, it is." And he's dancing all over the place with this axe. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think he has a far more cynical sense of humor and all this stuff. He's just going on. And then he's getting all excited and worked up. He's like, "Hey, Paul, and just
smashes
buries the axe in his face.
Holy crap.
And he's like, "Try getting a reservation at Dorsia now, you stupid fucking bastard." And which is great because this is all against hip to be a square.
Yeah.
And I like
it's
how
amazing.
He kind of chills out, sits on the couch and lights a cigar. It's a great scene.
It's a beautiful scene.
Next scene, he's carrying out the body in this garment bag, and he's
cash.
and he's just he's trying to put it in the trunk, and then Lewis is walking by with a friend of his, and he's like, "Oh my God, where did you get that overnight bag?" It's like that maybe there's a body in there.
Right, just the bag.
Yeah. And Bateman's just like, Jean-Paul Gaultier. And just
walks around.
Walks away. Yeah, just leaves.
It's like it's nothing.
It's nothing.
Get away, asshole.
Bateman goes to Alan's apartment, and he's got to try to find before he gets rid of the body, he's got to find a way to get rid of Alan. He has left on a trip. So he's like, I'm going to send him to London. So he packs a bag to get rid of some of his clothes. And he leaves this message on his answer machine. He's like, "Hi, this is Paul. I'm going to be in London for a few days. Hasta la vista, baby."
Hasta la vista, baby.
It's like even
the most casual.
It's super casual. And he's not even really doing a good impersonation of Paul Allen. Even I watched it with subtitles, and it had in parentheses, imitating Paul Allen. Even though it's not a good impersonation, it doesn't matter, because no one can tell.
No one can tell.
Tell each other apart anyway.
No, because everybody's fake.
Everybody's fake and everybody's the same.
Right.
These conformists marching in line. And so next scene, Bateman is in his office and he's got his headphones on. He's listening to Lady in Red. Detective Kimball shows up at his office, played by the great Willem Dafoe.
What a guy.
And when he comes in to talk to him about the disappearance of Paul Allen, I want to mention this because I think I heard this on the commentary like back in college, and I've never forgotten it. It makes so much sense now. Is that they shot Willem Dafoe in all of his scenes 3 different times. And the first set of takes was that he was really interested in Bateman, like that he really suspected that he was involved. And then one where he's suspicious but a little unsure. And then a third pass in which he has no interest in him at all. This is just routine questioning. And so the different shots that we see of Willem Dafoe, you can kind of tell which take they use, because there are moments where he is very
nonchalant,
and kind of not just uninterested, but a bit naive as a detective. But then there's some moments where there's a close up on his face that you can just tell, like he's twisting the knife a little bit, like I'm on to you.
Yeah, and I
really like how they bounce back and forth between those different takes, because I think that's what makes his character so great, even though it's a very small role.
Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as he's asking Bateman some questions, at first he asks him what his address is, and he tells him, the American Guards Building, West 81st Street. He's very impressed. He's like, that's nice. Very nice. Thanks. he's like, yeah, I know you're impressed. He's like, what do you know about Paul Allen? He's like, well, Allen was probably a closeted homosexual who did lots of cocaine.
It's the best.
Well, that whole Yale thing.
Yeah, the whole Yale thing. What is the Yale thing?
Yeah, he's very puzzled by that. What, the whole Yale thing?
What the
And I love that, they don't really get anywhere. He gives Detective Kimball this very basic alibi. I think he said that he went to see a performance of "Oh Africa, Brave Africa."
Yeah.
It was a laugh riot.
With the most serious face.
Yeah.
It was a laugh riot. I've had enough fake in this movie.
Yeah. Speaking of fake, as he's leaving, or Bateman's trying to get away, he says, "You'll have to excuse me. I have a meeting with Cliff Huxtable at the Four Seasons in 20 minutes. And I'm like, Cliff Huxtable, the Bill Cosby show.
Oh my gosh.
And Kimball doesn't really catch it. He just notices, oh, isn't that a bit far uptown? Won't you be late? Oh, no, there's one here. It's really great.
There's a new one here.
Yeah, there's a new one. So he sends him on his way. Bateman goes home. He's exercising. He's doing his crunches to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And gets in a limo later that night. And he picks up this lady of the night.
Who the hell is this?
This prostitute just on the side of the street. And I wonder now, because he does go and pick up these prostitutes in a limo. Like, there's a driver.
Yeah. Like, who's the driver?
Right. We never see the driver, but this person will be complicit in these crimes,
right,
and helping him take them back to his place. An accomplice, yeah. Wow. I mean, even though they're getting in of their own free will, he is offering them money, so this guy is kind of corrupt, this driver, the mystery of this limo driver.
Maybe we should do a bonus episode
Oh,
on this.
just
limo
on
driver.
just on the mysterious limo driver. There'd be a sequel. We'll make an unofficial sequel, like we did to Sleepy Hollow. Except this one will be about the limo driver.
About the limo driver.
This will be his story.
His
it will be American Psycho from his perspective.
Right.
Ooh.
American Psycho.
1.5. Revisited.
Yeah. With the exclusive footage of the background stories downtown New York.
Yeah, all of the ancillary characters.
Yes.
It'll be from their perspective of what's going on.
Yeah, the point of view.
Which might not turn out to be a very interesting film. No. We're talking about Sri Lanka and ending apartheid and
there's Harry.
And what we think about
the limo
Reagan.
driver.
Bateman picks up this prostitute and he gives her some money. He's on his cell phone, the big giant brick cell phone from the late 80s, and he's ordering a blonde to meet him at his apartment. And so he turns to this prostitute and says, "Your name is Christy. You will respond only to Christy." and they get to his apartment and she's in the bath and there's a Chardonnay on the side of the tub, this elegant bathtub. And he's telling her to wash up and everything. And he's splashing around playfully. And he's still in his suit. He's just sitting on the side of the tub. He gets a call and he's like, "Oh, send her up." And this lady arrives and he's, "Oh, how wonderful of you to come." And takes her coat. He's very gentlemanly.
My name is Paul.
Yeah, my name's Paul. Paul Allen. Did you get that? Paul Allen.
Paul Allen.
So I'm going to call you Sabrina. So he's got these little pet names for his code names.
The code names.
For his compadres for the night. And so he puts in some Phil Collins and he's talking about his time with Genesis. And this monologue is very unusual in that it has this kind of theatrical staging to it. Because isn't he wearing a tux?
Yeah,
now?
he's wearing a tux.
Yeah, he's wearing a tux and he is reeling on about the history of the band and the quality, like how their music has evolved over time. And they're just listening, not talking to each other.
Just listening.
And at some point he walks into the bedroom and he's just standing by the bed and he sits down and then they stand up and go to him as though kind of, "Oh, okay, we're about to get started. We're awaiting instruction."
Right.
"Christy, take off your robe." And then he continues on about Phil Collins. And then he starts getting out this video camera, this camcorder, if you remember those. And he stops and like, "Sabrina, why don't you dance a little?" And so she starts dancing a little bit, all seductive like.
Is this when Susudio starts playing?
It's about to, yeah. It's coming.
It's coming.
Oh
no!
We're still on In Too Deep.
In Too Deep.
Yeah,
yes.
In Too Deep.
Does it?
I had the single on audio cassette. Like, In Too Deep was on one side. And on the other side was Invisible Touch.
Oh, Invisible Touch. I love that song.
Love that song
so much.
Great album, too. And so why don't you dance a little? And as he's setting up the video camera, he says, "Christy, why don't you get down on your knees so Sabrina can see your asshole?"
I was like, all right, well, what's going to happen here? Bam!
This line is one of the most memorable lines for me, besides the scene where he's ordering Courtney dinner, or telling her what she's going to have for dinner. It's this line, because I've never heard another line like this in a movie.
It's pretty iconic.
And then he goes back to talking about Phil Collins, and then he says, "Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it." And I love how, in the moment, like, they're so taken aback by his instructions.
Right.
Like, what, really? Oh, okay. And then slowly they kind of get into it.
And, yeah, the Sabrina girl, she kind of looks at him and then looks at the ass, and then she's like, "Oh, right.
Oh, okay. And she goes along with it. And he says multiple times during this scene that that's a mighty fine Chardonnay you're not drinking. Which I think probably, we know later that he has drugged the wine in later scenes like this. So in this case, he probably has given them something to make them more docile and submissive. And then we get Susudio. Susudio. Oh yeah. This is a very unusual scene. So we have a threesome with Bateman and Christy and Sabrina. But in his bedroom, he had, not only is he videotaping it, but he has a wall of mirrors so that he can
see himself.
He's flexing and he's really getting into it. He's kind of grunting and he's admiring his own muscles and everything.
Right, yeah, right.
But it's comical.
Yes, it's very funny. You just can't get it up yourself.
Yeah, it's one thing to preserve this for later viewing, for later enjoyment, but like he's enjoying it in the moment. It's not even like being with the women. It's like seeing himself dominating,
just overpowered.
Yeah,
overpowering. I wonder how it would have been with no music and him doing the same thing.
Okay, that might be out there somewhere in the world where somebody has taken the audio out. Digression. If you get a chance, go on YouTube and find like famous movie scenes with the music taken out. They're totally, totally different. One of my favorites is from Jurassic Park. It's the scene where they arrive at the island and you get that sweeping, epic music.
Yeah.
Without the music, and you just hear the sound effects and the helicopter and everything. It is the most boring thing you've ever seen.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's amazing what music can do for a movie. So the three fall asleep. In the middle of the night, Bateman wakes up, and he goes and retrieves a coat hanger, and he tells the ladies, "We're not through yet." And then moments later, they leave beaten, bloodied, and scarred, and he's paying them more money as they're leaving the apartment.
Wow.
And so, but it's kind of dark, so we can't really see the full extent of what happened.
I know that like Sabrina looked really bad.
Yeah, you can see there's like scratches on her back, and there's something going on with her face, and she might have a black eye or something. But yeah, they look pretty rough, and they're pretty shaken up. So next scene, he's hanging out with McDermott and Van Patten, and Bateman mentions Ed Gein, and Van Patten says, "The maitre d' at Canal Bar?" He's like, "No, serial killer, Wisconsin, 1950s." And so he's talking about what Ed Gein had to say about how you should take care of a woman or something like that. Which, I mean, he was the guy that inspired the Buffalo Bill character in Silence of the Lambs and had butchered women much in the same way that Bateman is doing. But he's like, he talked about how to treat a lady in one part of his mind. And he's like, well, what was the other part? He's like, thinking what her head would look like on a stick.
Like, everybody's just like,
yeah, they're completely unfazed, but he gets a little excited about it. Like, hey, check this out, guys. So we notice he's starting to drop conversations about serial killers into conversation.
More often.
Yeah.
Much more often.
Lewis shows up, this little dweeb. And he's like, "Oh, I got a new business card." And he's showing it off, and Bateman's looking at it, and you just, very subtly, you can see him swallow really hard.
Yes. And he just turns very nervous.
Yeah.
Very quick.
And he's really trying to hide it. You can see he's choking it down. And Lewis kind of gets the recognition that he wanted and just turns to leave and goes into the men's room.
And I think it was that nice fine gold Egyptian print.
Yeah. And I think his even had a little color in it.
Oh, yeah, just a little bit.
That old Lewis.
I almost had an orgasm just looking at that card.
Yeah, it's an orgasmic card. and really, they all look pretty much the same.
Yes, they
just
do.
In different type.
Entirely the same.
Slightly different, capitalization. Some have small caps, some have italics.
Some numbering of dots between the cell phone digits.
Oh my God. And anything to one up the other person.
Honestly.
And so Bateman follows Lewis into the bathroom. Lewis is at the urinal. Bateman is putting on these black leather gloves, and he's stalking up on Lewis, and he's got his hands outstretched. And Lewis spins around, and he's unfazed. He grabs Bateman's hand, and he kisses the glove. And he's like, "Patrick, why here?"
I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, oh gosh.
She's the kind of, "I've seen you looking at me." Yeah, like,
right.
"You want me, I want you too." And Bateman he freaks out. He immediately goes and he's washing
his gloves.
And he looks horrified.
He looks horrible too. Just...
And he is leaving, and Lewis is like, "Patrick, where are you going?"
Let's do it.
Yeah. It's like, "I have to return some videotapes."
That's his excuse for everything.
I wish I could still use that, but I feel like for our show, maybe we can just use it as a joke.
I have to return some videotapes.
It's a valid excuse. I mean, you didn't want any late charges, you know?
Right.
You got to get them in on time. And so as he's leaving, Lewis calls after him, Patrick. He looks back and Lewis puts his hand, does like the phone gesture, and he's like, call me.
Oh, jeez.
And so Kimball returns to Bateman's office, and he is trying to reestablish his alibi because Kimball says, oh, you must be misremembering what you did because that's not the information I have. It's not what I've received at all. And so I forget what he tells him, but anyway, Kimball's like, well, I need to sort all this out. How about, let's have lunch soon in about a week after I sort all this stuff out.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's going to happen. Next thing, Bateman and Courtney have an afternoon quickie. And this is an odd scene because, so they have sex. Bateman gets dressed. And Courtney is sitting on the side of the bed, and she says, Patrick, we need to talk, or can we talk? And she can't really bring herself to say what she wants to say.
No.
She just says, and she's visibly medicated still, but she says, if I don't see you before Easter, have a good one, okay? And I always wonder, like, what it is that she wanted to say.
Yeah.
It's an odd scene. It feels like something is missing.
It's very vague.
Yeah.
There's nothing grabs you.
Yeah, because you don't know.
You don't know.
They don't really have a relationship.
At all. It's just sex.
It's just sex, yeah.
Especially, like, she's drugged all the time.
It makes you wonder. I think there was a scene whenever they were on the way to Barcadia, posing as Dorcia, that she mentioned something about wanting children or something. Like, it seemed like she's been reflective about what she really wants in life.
And that he has no respect for it whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's almost like maybe she sees or imagines something in Bateman that she might want. Kind of like Jean.
Right, but never gets it.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad that maybe it doesn't exist, which it doesn't.
It doesn't,
yeah.
Oh, man, this is deep.
I know.
I'm kind of getting emotional.
I know, I'm getting sad. Well, that's okay, because we're going to the club now. So, So Bateman and Bryce, they're in a crowded bathroom. Everybody's doing cocaine.
Yeah, let's say it.
It's getting wild and crazy.
Let's get it, guys.
They're in the stall together.
It seems like everybody's doing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the place is packed.
It's packed with the white snow.
Like the staple of yuppie culture is cocaine. Like they're getting it.
Gotta get the sniffs.
I love that they're having a conversation, but in the next stall, some guy like peeks over and it's like, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to do drugs." Yeah. And Bryce is getting frustrated. He's like, "Oh, fuck you!"
Yeah.
And so they meet some girls at the club, and they're chatting them up. And one of the girls asks Bateman, well, "What do you do?" And he says, "I'm in murders and executions mostly." And she asks, "Do you like it?" "Well, it depends." "Why?" "Because most people I know in mergers and acquisitions don't like it." And so, again, he had said exactly
what he's doing.
Yeah, but they hear what they want to hear.
Right.
He's in mergers and acquisitions. Or maybe they just mishear him. But still, it's like nobody really cares what the other person says.
Right.
Outside the club, he's with this girl, and she says, "There's something sweet about you." So again, we see these women falling for that facade that he has, that charm that is all a means of performance, but it's also like how he is able to lure them into his...
It's a very skilled performance.
Yeah, and you can tell that he's cultivated this over time.
Right.
And so they both leave in a cab. The next day in his office, he is seated on a couch wearing his Ray-Bans, and he's doing a crossword puzzle. And in his hand, he's tickling his ear with his lock of blonde hair.
Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, so we were like, okay, well, we know what happened to her.
Yeah.
He has a trophy. So he's doing this crossword puzzle, but we see what he's writing. He's just writing the words bone and meat over and over again. Gene comes in. He immediately pockets his little trophy, and he asks Gene to dinner. And of course, she's very flattered. He's like, "Where do you want to go? I can get us a reservation anywhere." And so she thinks about it, and she says, "How about Dorcia?" And he looks up, and even though he's wearing his sunglasses, you can tell he's like, "Oh shit,
right?
I don't think I can swing this." So he's like, "So Dorcia is where Gene wants to go. Dorcia is fine." So he pulls out his cell phone. He calls Dorcia. And he asked for a reservation for 2 at 9 or 9:30. And they say, "Oh, we're totally booked." Right. He's like, "Oh, perfect. Now, reservation for 2. See you then." And they're like, "Oh, no, we said we're booked." And he hangs up. And I thought this was interesting. She kind of doesn't believe that he made reservations because she said, "You didn't give a name." And he just says, "They know me."
And she goes with it.
She goes with it. it's like she's wanting to trust him. Like she knows there's something off about him, but she's
Right.
daring herself.
Right.
Getting a little bit closer. The mystery of Patrick Bateman. So he says, why don't we meet at my place first for drinks at 7? And so she does. She meets him there. She looks very, very nice. She's very nicely dressed. And she's very impressed with his view. And meanwhile, he goes to the fridge while she's in his living room. And there's a head in the fridge.
Just casually.
And he just reaches around it to get a sorbet and offers it to Jean. So she's eating it. And he's kind of walking through the kitchen while she's sitting on the couch. And kind of making small talk, like wanting to know what her life goals are, like what she wants out of life. And he said something like, don't tell me that you want to work with children, okay?
Yeah, like he's heard it 10,000 times before, you know?
Yeah. While he's asking her this and while she's talking, he's going through his kitchen. He opens the drawer and he's looking at these knives. He's assessing his arsenal to decide what instrument he's going to use on Jean.
He brings duct tape out.
Yeah,
of
right,
the drawer.
yeah. That's the first thing he pulls out. He opens this little cabinet. It's almost like a tool shed in the kitchen. Like he's got all this
Like, what
tools.
the hell?
And he gets the duct tape. And then he's walking it over while she's still talking, and then he puts it back.
Why do you have duct tape? To tape something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Something. I forgot about that. I didn't make a note about that. From his little garden shed in the kitchen, he retrieves a nail gun, this massive industrial...
Right in front of the chainsaw, of course.
Yeah, which will come into play later, of course.
Oh, yeah.
It's got this in the kitchen.
It's chop up some meat.
And you got to be ready for all occasions.
Oh, yes. Some 12-pounders, some 6-pounders, you know. Gotta get them sirloins.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because, as we know, Bateman's going to be, he's going to try a little cooking at some point.
Some New York T-bone steaks fresh from the living room.
Fresh from the living room. You're going to give me hiccups. And so I love this shot. So he's walking around behind the couch, standing behind Jean, and she asks him, what are you looking for? What do you want in a relationship? And he lifts up this nail gun and points it to the back of her head. She has no idea what he's doing. He flatly says, I guess you could say I'm looking for a meaningful relationship with someone special. And while he's holding this to her head.
Yeah.
And then there's a phone call, which breaks the moment. It's Evelyn. She leaves a message on his machine, and she's doing all this baby talk and shit. Oh, Mr. CEO, you know, call me back. I know you're there.
Mr. Bad Boy.
Yeah, Mr. Bad Boy. We're having dinner with these people.
Dirty CEO.
Yeah, dirty CEO. And as Patrick is sitting down on the couch, like he's kind of hidden away the nail gun. He's almost a little deflated that the moment was broken, but also he's kind of caught himself.
Right.
Like he recognizes that Jean is a good person and that there's something about her that he likes, and that he knows that something bad is going to happen, and he can't help himself. She says, you know, was that Evelyn? You know, were you still together? And I always seem to find myself attracted to unavailable men. And do you want me to go? And he says yes, because, you know, if you don't, something bad will happen. And so she leaves. Bateman and Kimball have their lunch. Bateman's sweaty. He's you can see him already starting to kind of come unglued.
Mm-hmm.
He is asking Kimball what he's discovered about Alan's whereabouts. Who's he talked to? And so, I talked to Paul Allen's secretary and said that he had dinner with Marcus Halberstram, and he denies it. And but he has an alibi. That Marcus was with Bryson Van Patten and all these other people, and you. So
nice.
So Bateman, he's tossing back this drink, long gulps. And so we get that same back and forth, that up and down suspicion of not really sure if Kimball is on to him or not. The limo driver comes back, carting the tuxedoed Patrick Bateman, the Night Stalker.
Second round with Christy.
Yeah, second round with Christy. And she's still at her usual spot. He's driving up, and she's like, no way. Not after what happened last time. Last time was bad. And he's like, I won't do that again, I promise. You know, just come here and talk to me for a minute. So he's waving that money at her.
All about the money.
Waving that carrot in front of that rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
And so she comes in, he gives her money, gives her a drink, and she says, I may need surgery after what happened last time. Friends are telling me I might need to talk to a lawyer. And so lawyers are complicated. And so he just pulls out some more money.
Right.
And she eventually gets out, starts walking away. The limo starts following after her, and he's got the window down.
Hoarding out more money.
More money. Like it's a stack of money.
It's crazy.
And he's whistling. And she finally stops, and she sees, what he's got there. And she gets in reluctantly. Just like the last time never happened. It's like, just as a reminder, he's your name's Christy. We're meeting my friend Elizabeth. She's going to be joining us at my new apartment later.
Oh my gosh.
So we have about 32 minutes left here in this movie. So we're actually in Paul Allen's apartment. So Bateman knows he needs to try to further establish that Paul Allen is not dead, that he is being seen with other people.
Right.
And that he's ordering prostitutes. And so Elizabeth is there. We're not really sure who she is just yet. She's very, very chatty. She's drinking wine. Bateman's crushing up some pills, and he's spooning them into the wine bottle, and he's pouring the ladies another drink. So we learn that Bateman met Elizabeth at the Kentucky Derby a year or two ago, and Elizabeth is just very, very chatty. She's just going on and on and on. And she definitely fits in with his social circle and just being very talkative about, silly things, trivial things. And she asks Christy, who's been just stoic the whole time.
Oh, yes. Like, you could just see her face. It's so unemotional.
Yeah, she just has this very dead expression.
Yes. Like, I don't want to be here. This is not going to end well.
Yeah. And she's just kind of waiting it out.
Right.
Just kind of going to maybe a safe place in her mind until it's over. Elizabeth asks her, How did you meet Christy? She's my cousin from France.
She's definitely French,
Yeah, she doesn't even react. She's so blank still. And then Bateman's like, I'd really like to see you two get it on. And this is funny because Elizabeth is like, why would he think she would be into that?
Yeah, she's not a lesbian.
She's not a lesbian. Which, funny enough, she's played by Guinevere Turner, who is the co-writer of the screenplay, and she is openly a lesbian.
That is so funny.
So I think they decided that would be a fun little in-joke to include. And so Christy and Elizabeth, they start making out while Bateman is going on about Whitney Houston. And they're making fun of him for having a Whitney Houston album, but he just ignores them. Like they're making out and stuff, and he's just looking off. And he's getting lost in his thoughts about the greatest love of all is that's my favorite track.
His music.
He sounds,
he's so passionate.
He sounds like liner notes.
Yes,
for the album. And so the sex starts to turn rough, and Christy gets out of bed and sees Bateman biting Elizabeth. And so Christy runs out, and he goes after her. He's buck naked, except he's got these really white running shoes on, his tennis shoes, and nothing else. And Christy's running into different rooms, and she sees bodies. He comes after her with a chainsaw, a fancy chainsaw, and his face. He is fucking crazy.
Oh yeah,
he's an animal. He is predatory. He's covered in blood. He's hissing and growling. And he's chasing her through the apartment hallways, and then she's running down the stairs, and he's holding the chainsaw over the railing, and he's just kind of sweeping it back and forth. I mean, he just is insane looking in this moment.
Well, does no one live there? But
right, and he has a chainsaw.
He has a chainsaw. Does no one hear this?
Again, they just don't care.
They just don't care? Yeah. It's just,
what does that sound? Oh, that's someone making noise.
Two youngins just playing in the hallway.
Oh, yeah. I'll take another Xanax.
Yeah.
We'll make it go away.
Sleep away while watching Jeopardy.
Yeah. So, this, in a crack shot, Christy gets to the bottom floor, and Bateman is leaning over the rail. His apartment's on the 11th floor.
Right.
But he aims and drops the chainsaw at such a way and times it just right so that whenever Christy gets just below his line of sight, the chainsaw goes right through her back and immediately kills her.
Wow, just pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah, absolute pinpoint accuracy. And he just screams victory. And he is, oh man, I don't know.
He's just such evil.
Yeah, the rage is just
insane.
He's seeing red. So she did. And so Bateman goes to have dinner or lunch with Evelyn, and he says that I need to engage in homicidal stuff, basically, and that this can't go on. It's over.
It's over. Yeah,
you and I are done.
I have more important business than looking at you. I need blood in my life.
Is it right? And it's like she's still. It doesn't register. She's and he's like, no, it's fucking over. We're done. We're done.
Right. Yeah.
And so he takes off. I mean, he's just cracking up. And so he leaves. And this is where the movie gets really weird.
Yes, very weird.
Very fast.
Very rapid time, yes.
It's very unexpected. So when you're seeing it for the first time, it really catches you off guard. He goes to the ATM, and there's a cat. And kitty, or something like that. He makes some little remark about the cat. And the ATM on the screen, text pops up that says, "Feed me a stray cat." And he looks a little puzzled at first, and then he reaches down, picks up the cat, and is trying to force it into the ATM while holding a gun, a Glock to its head. And this old woman is walking up trying to intervene. It's like, oh, what are you doing? He turns, shoots her, he takes off running. A police car comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And then he's running through these alleys and stuff, and the police corner him, freeze, and they have a shootout.
And then the explosions.
Yeah, the car just erupts into flames, or into pieces, which wouldn't happen.
No,
if you just shoot the car, it's not going to explode like this.
I'm so glad these 50 cal bullets are just
He got these explosive rounds all of a sudden,
right, from a pistol.
Yeah, from this little pistol. And so he's running and he's shooting bystanders along the way. I think shoots a doorman, and he decides to go to his office. And when he walks into the building, after all this chaos, he has to sign in at the front desk.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a funny little moment. And so he does it.
And his hair is a mess.
His hair is a mess.
Everything.
And so he goes into his office, lights are off, he hunkers down by the window, and there are helicopters circling. Like, this is Grand Theft Auto 5 stars.
Oh, yes.
He calls his lawyer, gets the answer machine. He confesses he has this long confession to all of the murders we've seen so far and all of those that we haven't. He explains how he did it, what he did with the bodies. He's very, very upset.
Vividly upset, yes.
But he's trying to leave no detail out. He is unburdening himself finally.
Confessing everything.
Everything. He says he's maybe killed 40 people.
Yeah,
he doesn't know.
Maybe 40 people.
Yeah, maybe 40. He has tapes of some of them. He almost doesn't want to say it, but he says, I ate some of their brains. I try to cook a little.
It's like, oh man.
And so we can see that his mania and his dark fantasies. He is wanting to, the pain that he's trying to inflict upon other people. What is so maddening about it is that he wants to be punished.
Yes.
He wants there to be consequences for his actions. And so this is his desperate attempt to get that.
Right.
To be punished, for someone to recognize what he's been doing. Because it's been...
Finally.
After all of this time of it eating him up. The next morning, he showers, he gets ready. He goes to Paul Allen's place, maybe to clean up. He's wearing this...
mask.
This dust mask. And he sees that the apartment is empty, and a realtor is there showing the place off. And he's confused. He's looking around, and he sees that the place is being repainted and stuff. And he's like, I'm looking for Paul Allen's apartment. Does he live here? He's like, no. The realtor says no, that he doesn't live here. And she's a little suspicious of him.
Yes.
Bateman asks, I want to know. He says, I want to know what happened here. And it doesn't register to her like anything has happened at all. She asks, did you see the ad in the Times? I said, no. Yeah, I did. There was no ad at the Times. I think you should go. And so he's still puzzled and unfulfilled, but he leaves.
Right.
And in another attempt of desperation, he goes to a payphone and he calls Jean. And he's manic, and he's
just a madman.
Yeah, he's talking a mile a minute, and she's like, Patrick, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. What's going on with you? And she's like, you've got these things on your agenda. He's like, Gene, I'm not going to make it into the office today. And she's getting upset. And he's like, stop being so sad or something like that. Being so fucking sad. Just say no. And for some reason, Gene gets the idea to go pry through
this suspicion.
Go through his personal things in his desk and retrieves his daily schedule or his planner. And at first we just see names, dates, places for
Everything.
dinner. Yeah, and then as we flip, we get a sketch or two of some graphic, violent decapitation or something. And Gina's visibly upset, so she's flipping through. We cut away. Now we're back at dinner with Van Patten, Bryce, and McDermott. Bateman is there. He sees Harold, his lawyer, that he called on the phone and gave his confession to. He goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, Harold." And he's like, "Get my message?" And Harold's just like, "Oh, that was hilarious. By the way..."
Shoving it off.
"Yeah, by the way, Davis, how's Cynthia? Good to see you. Is that Edward Towers?" And Bateman's like, the facade is gone. Like he's
upset.
He's dropped it. He's like, wait. Harold says, "What is it?" It's like, "Your joke was funny, but Patrick Bateman, he's a dork. You know, he would if you had said it was Bryce but maybe I would have found it amusing. If you'll excuse me." And he's like, "Stop. I did it. You know, I'm Patrick Bateman." And he says everything he said was true. And he is perplexed finally in this moment about this particular instance of misrecognition where it doesn't serve him.
Right.
Where he says, "Don't you recognize me? We talk on the phone all the time. You're my lawyer. I killed Paul Allen. And I liked it." And we see the lawyer's face. And his face doesn't tell us anything.
No. It's just sincere, unemotional. He just couldn't get his eyes off of Bateman at all.
No, it's almost like he's waiting for Bateman to finish talking.
Yes.
Because he has other things to do. This is another moment where someone is listening to another person talk and it's not computing.
I've got my own business.
Yeah.
And
Like
you're not a part of it.
Right.
You know.
I see somebody over there that I want to talk to more, and you, in his mind, he's this guy named Davis.
Right.
But he doesn't recognize, I mean, he's Bateman's lawyer, and he's as far from me to you, or maybe not even 3 feet away.
Right.
And doesn't recognize him. And he said, that he killed Paul Allen, and Harold says that's impossible. So why is it impossible? That just couldn't have happened, because I had dinner with Paul Allen in London twice 10 days ago. So Harold leaves, and Bateman he's
dumbfounded.
Yeah. And so now, as an audience, did Paul Allen really go to London?
Who was Paul Allen? Who is Paul Allen?
Exactly. Does Paul Allen even exist, or is he another kind of personage, or a persona that is kind of floating around these yuppie elites? You know, I don't know how.
Who is who?
Yeah.
So
Harold leaves. We cut back to Jean. She's looking through the sketches. And now we're getting full page spreads of graphic depictions of murder and dismemberment and madness. And so Bateman just goes back to the table with his buddies, and we're pretty much back to business as usual, right where we started.
Yeah. And
Bateman kind of laughs it off, like, at the absurdity of it, that he's like, "I'm just a happy camper." Yeah. In his voiceover, he kind of lays it down, like, in short, that even after his admission, there is no catharsis. Like there will be no consequences, no punishment for what he's done, and his pain will continue to eat him up, and he's going to continue to do this
until someone stops him. Basically.
Yeah. Which, in this world, in this universe, if he remains as he is among these people, it's not going to change.
Nope.
And he's just going to be stuck in this purgatory.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
Yeah. It's like he's a program in his own world.
Yeah. Like Tron.
Yeah. Just like Tron. Hashtag throwback.
Yeah. Hashtag episode 1. And his final words is, "This confession has meant nothing."
Mic drop.
Boom. Credits.
Finished.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what'd you think? What are your thoughts? What value does it have? Lay it on me.
It definitely has 110% value up to this day. The epitome of violence in the 2000s. I definitely would rank this in the top 10 with Christian Bale's acting, with the plot of this movie, with storyline of violence in this movie. Wasn't, he's chopping off heads, or, he's slicing, breasts up, or, the females are on display for, dissection kind of thing. Yeah. It wasn't along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
It was more along the lines of the damage that he's doing to people emotionally, the damage he's doing to himself, and the damage that the entire business world and the damage that has on personality, on emotion, on passion, and how fake that world really is. So I think in terms of value, definitely wouldn't watch this with your significant other people. Definitely not. But for a nice, weekend, maybe, Saturday afternoon, I wouldn't say Saturday night, but I'd say let's just turn something on and see some blood and guts.
Sure.
Maybe some chainsaw action and dancing to, Phil Collins for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I forgot what I was gonna say.
My lines are just too captivating, Brandon.
It's almost like a rich character study.
Yes.
Like he is not the hero of the story.
No.
We're not rooting for him at all.
Or just anybody.
No, we're not. We're just kind of flies on the wall. I mean, we're kind of
in his own world.
Yeah, we're seeing it through his eyes. Like we're kind of perched on his shoulder, seeing his world from his point of view, from his vantage point, and how he navigates and negotiates this, the social construct that he's embedded in.
Right, because everybody else around him has very minor roles compared to him.
Yeah,
extremely minor roles.
Yeah,
he is the highlight of this movie.
Right, 110%. Everyone else is very flat, two-dimensional.
Yes,
maybe Gene is probably the most real person.
I agree.
And I think that's in part what Bateman recognizes in her and why he decides to spare her, is that he sees a genuine person, an authentic person in a sea of plastic people.
Right.
So I mean, we got some memorable scenes, but my interest did start to wane a bit after the chainsaw scene with the "feed me a stray cat" part. The ending I know was left open for interpretation, whether Bateman actually killed anyone at all. But I think that margin of interpretation leaves me unsatisfied as a viewer. I mean, like I said, earlier on in the episode, Bret Easton Ellis, didn't love this movie but didn't hate it. That's because film demands truth, it demands answers. That in this case, an unreliable narrator, at least as far as Bateman is concerned, doesn't work as well on screen as he does in the novel, because we are playing with what is real to Bateman, what is real to us, what is real to the other people Bateman is interacting with. So it gets kind of, gets a little hairy for casual viewing anyway. The highlights for me, too, are the script, the direction, Christian Bale's performance. I mean, as we've said before, this guy is a chameleon. This guy's 25 when he pulled this off. This performance is the one that really positioned him to get the attention he deserved in order to take on those more demanding and complex roles later in his career.
I definitely agree. Yeah.
So, next time, we're going to stay in New York City, but in the sewers with Leo, Donnie, Mikey, and Ralph as we battle the evil Shredder and his Foot Clan and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. The highest grossing independent film at its time, this movie was my jam as a kid, so that will be a fun one for me at least to go back and revisit, because I've got
same here.
I got some stories for you.
Gosh.
And I bet you do too. So that is American Psycho, ladies and jelly spoons. But before we go, remember to rate the show and review it on iTunes. That would help us out a great deal, since it helps other people find the show in their favorite podcast apps. Tell your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, hairstylist, lawyer, stockbroker, and tell a special someone do the same. If you have questions for us or want to tell us what you think of the show, drop us a line at vericonvideo@gmail.com, or you can leave us a message at the Vericon Video hotline, and that number is 312-620-5560. You can find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, stalk us on Instagram at Vericon Video. Support the show, snag some cool Vericon Video swag, t-shirts, stickers. Everything in the store is off 30% through November 16th, so get that t-shirt you've been wanting. You can find the link on our website at vericonvideo.com. And on our site, there's also a link to our Patreon page, where for a small monthly contribution, you can help us offset the costs of hosting the show and help us better create content for you, and you get perks for it. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and we will see you next time to chat about another exciting movie from the rental era. So long, everybody.
Peace out, guys.
Goodbye, Vietnam! That's right. I'm history. I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle. Bye-bye.
Do take good care of yourself.
What is this, your farewell speech? Going home. Have a good trip.
Hasta la vista, baby. I have to go.
Adieu, auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit.
Farewell.